The night of December 23 began like many others, with cities glowing softly under winter skies and families hoping for quiet hours before dawn. But in Ukraine, that quiet did not last. Sirens cut through the darkness, warning millions that danger was already in the air. Explosions soon followed, echoing across urban neighborhoods and distant industrial zones, turning peaceful streets into scenes of fear and uncertainty. For many Ukrainians, this night would become another unforgettable chapter in a war that shows no sign of ending. As missiles and drones struck multiple regions, emergency services rushed into action. Firefighters battled flames rising from damaged buildings while rescue teams searched through smoke-filled streets. Power outages spread across several areas, leaving homes in darkness and cold. Hospitals prepared for emergencies, running on backup generators as doctors and nurses worked under intense pressure. Each explosion was not just a military strike but a shockwave through civilian life, disrupting routines, memories, and hopes. At the center of the global response stood Ukraine's leadership, facing the impossible task of reassuring a nation while under attack. The president addressed the people with a firm but somber message, acknowledging the pain of the night while emphasizing resilience. His expression reflected exhaustion, determination, and the weight of responsibility carried since the beginning of the conflict. The message was clear: Ukraine would endure, but the cost was rising. The strikes on December 23 were not isolated incidents. They followed a pattern of intensified attacks aimed at infrastructure and key urban areas during winter, a time when energy systems are critical for survival. Analysts believe these strikes were intended to weaken morale and strain resources. Electricity networks, heating facilities, and transportation hubs once again became targets, increasing hardship for civilians already facing months of disruption. International reactions came swiftly. Western leaders condemned the attacks, calling them a violation of international norms and a direct threat to civilian safety. Emergency meetings were held, statements were released, and promises of continued support were repeated. Military aid, air defense systems, and humanitarian assistance once again dominated discussions. Yet for people on the ground, words from abroad felt distant compared to the immediate reality of shattered windows and sleepless nights. In the streets of affected cities, residents described moments of confusion and fear. Parents gathered children into hallways away from windows. Elderly citizens waited in shelters, listening to distant sounds of conflict. Volunteers distributed food and blankets, proving once again how community solidarity has become one of Ukraine's strongest defenses. Even after the explosions stopped, the silence that followed was heavy, filled with uncertainty about what might come next. This attack also reignited debates about the future of the war. Military experts questioned whether the conflict was entering a new phase, one defined by sustained pressure rather than rapid offensives. The use of drones and long-range weapons has transformed modern warfare, making entire cities part of the battlefield even when front lines are far away. December 23 became another example of how technology has blurred the line between combat zones and civilian life. For Russia, official statements framed the strikes as strategic operations. For Ukraine, they were acts of terror aimed at breaking the spirit of a nation. Between these narratives lies the reality experienced by millions who simply want peace, warmth, and safety. Each side continues to present its version of events, while the human cost keeps rising quietly in homes, shelters, and hospitals. As dawn arrived, smoke still lingered over damaged areas. Workers assessed the destruction, estimating repairs that would take weeks or months. Public transportation resumed slowly, and people went to work despite exhaustion, demonstrating a resilience that has become a defining feature of Ukrainian society. Life continued, not because the danger had passed, but because stopping was not an option. The December 23 attacks also sent a strong signal to the world as the year approached its end. They reminded global audiences that the war is not frozen, not forgotten, and not limited to distant front lines. It is active, evolving, and deeply personal for those living through it. Each new strike challenges international resolve and tests how long support can be sustained. Looking ahead, uncertainty dominates every discussion. Will diplomatic efforts gain momentum, or will military escalation continue? Will air defenses improve enough to protect cities more effectively, or will civilians remain exposed to sudden attacks? These questions have no easy answers. What remains clear is that the conflict has reshaped lives, borders, and global politics in ways that will be felt for generations. December 23 will be remembered not just as another date in the war, but as a night that symbolized the ongoing struggle between endurance and destruction. A night when fear met resilience, and when the world once again turned its eyes toward Ukraine, watching, reacting, and wondering what the next chapter will bring. As the smoke cleared and the sun rose, one truth stood undeniable. The war continues, the people endure, and history is still being written, one night, one strike, and one act of survival at a time.